Welcome to the Grand Finals. We are live here. It is July 13th in the year 2020, the darkest year of our timeline. I'm Nathanias, bringing you the Grand Finals of the ESL Pro Tour Weekly Cup. We did not have Hero Marine somehow in the finals. It's not the Big Gabe Weekly because of this man in the bottom left, the blue Protoss player who defeated his German counterpart and now faces yet another German. He is Showtime. And a man who can only be described with a simple emote that he wears next to his hatchery in the Northeast. Another German we have, Lambo. Do you think that the Lambo, like, you know, the amount of jokes people make about the name in the car, do you think that's why he uses the Infester, Neuraling the Hellion icon? Like, that's the Lambo, but he's still a Zerg, right? I don't know. I'm not trying to overthink it. I'm just telling you what's going through my mind. You don't have to agree with me, obviously. Work with me here. I'm spitballing for a moment. I can't really say that I know much, if any, German at all. All I can tell you is that on the flights, after the security or video, or whatever, right, about safety, Auf Wiedersehen is one of the things that they say. And I also know, Dankeschön. And that's about it. That's what I got. And if you're feeling cool, then you just say Danke, which is just thank you. That is a really long sub. Thank you, Streganer Vets, for the 43 months. I love you. And we have the Cybercore finishing now at the natural for Showtime, who went for a decently timed setup to put on some early harass if he wants, right? Not going for a Nexus first or anything. Lambo didn't really play an eco cheese game either. He can take his third base right now. We will see. He gave you a shout out. Aw, I love Kevin. I really do love Roddy. Honestly, if Roddy keeps casting these weekly cups, he obviously gets a lot more viewers than me, but I got to see about maybe I'll just jump onto his stream and cast with him there. I think that could be fun since I've really prioritized these. I would be totally down with that too. Today, and I could just locally record them for the YouTube channel like I usually do. But we could cast it on his stream. I'll bring that up. Actually. That's a good idea. I haven't even really thought that much about asking someone to do that, but I realized that Kevin's been doing quite a bit of these. And I like I said, I've been doing these almost every week now. Every week that I can. If, you know, an act of God doesn't get in the way of me. So Showtime has actually been loving his oracles today. He's been loving the oracles today. I feel like this is the third series I've cast of Showtime. I might be totally wrong about that, but I feel like yeah, we did Showtime versus Bly, actually. So he's played a little bit of PvZ today, Showtime has. We've seen him really like the 3 oracles. He's been going back to 3 oracles. So for those of you who maybe haven't been watching, like following a crazy amount recently, this is a pretty similar Protoss opening that Stats made popular about summer of 2019, where it was 3 oracles and then you kind of go into the normal. But it wasn't the 1, it wasn't the 2. It was pretty much 3 oracles every single game. And while I obviously can't guarantee he's going to do that as he takes this third Nexus, it's something that he's been favoring. So there it is. Okay. Now I get to feel smart, which is nice. Now, Lambo, on the other hand, is a player whose stock has been rising very, very heavily this year. The last couple of months, particularly his performance at DreamHack Summer. Nathan, DreamHack Summer didn't happen. Well, DreamHack Masters Summer. It's like the Kirkland signature version of DreamHack, not because it's bad, but because we literally can't have offline events. So, yeah, but he actually defeated Cyril in his bracket. Yeah, he had a really good run. I think he's just played like Euthermal for like the umpteenth time as well, who's another top Terran player. He just clapped Euthermal in a decisive game playing versus some mech memes. I was watching Rotterdam cast that actually while we were waiting during that long break. But Lambo's a really good player. Showtime looked, I would say, maybe like the teensiest little bit shaky against Hero Marine. But Hero Marine, like I said, I love Gabe, Guten Gaben. I love that man to death. I'm probably going to pick him for my team if nobody else gets him. I'm probably going to pick up Gabe for my war chest team. But at the same time, you know, he just did, you know, he wasn't feeling very well. People were telling me he's sick and whatnot, and I absolutely never want to hold that against somebody. So I just want to say, you know, he put up some good games, but Showtime was looking a little bit sharper at the moment. Now, this game's going to get interesting because, you know, the Oracles are doing their thing. We've got quite a few roaches being built by Lambo. And even though he got that lair, I think he may have been trying to sell something to the Oracles. Like, oh, hey, I'm going lair. That's right. Oh, look at me. I'm Lambo. I'm getting the lair. You better be ready for lair stuff. But actually, he's going to be like just a ton of roaches and some lings. And possibly Ravagers too. Now this is very important. The Adepts at the tower. I do not know 100% if they were able to see those queens that just went by. But look at what Lambo has done with his Overlord speed. He's creating a trail of creep spread. Now, normally this is going to be, you know, speed boost for normal units. But it's particularly useful when you're trying to shuffle queens over. And this I was saying, Lambo's been improving a lot recently. And particularly, he's been doing a lot of smart stuff. Like the types of things that, you know, require a less than smooth brain. What does less than smooth mean? I don't know. But you get the point. Lambo's strategies usually err on the side of, you know, on a more creative side. He's able to kind of bring these queens now using this highway he made and even dropping a tumor there so that his queens can keep the Oracles off the Ravagers. Normally, if the Oracles with three full energy Oracles will kill this whole army on their own. But Lambo is trying to make a push. But Showtime has 4 photon cannons. He's got an Immortal, 5 shield batteries. Of course, the shield battery overcharge, he hasn't even activated it yet. So this is a very committed, almost all-in-ish play from Lambo. He's down 10 workers. He kind of has to break him here. The Biles pull out a ton of the energy from these shield batteries, but he's going to overcharge the battery in the back. That is going to have, it's basically an infinite ammo bandana for the shield battery, but as long as the Immortal is alive, as long as the Warp Prism is there to juggle them, there is always going to be some hope. Stasis Trap does grab a few of those roaches, and he's going to be able to take out a couple more of the Ravagers at the front end of this. The queens are still alive. The Oracles have mostly been removed from the playing field. Shield battery overcharge is done, but like I said, as long as there are Immortals in a prism, there is a dream, and the dream is alive for Showtime. Game number 1 going to the Protoss. Like I was saying, we definitely get to see some of the creativity there coming out of Lambo. But if I had to, you know, attempt to break that down any more, because I'm not really, you know, the most amazing, I'm not going to try and tell you that I'm the most amazing breakdowner of PvZs in particular. But he wanted to kind of try and sell this setup that it was going to be something maybe a little bit more on the side of normal, that it was going to be something a little bit more standard. And Showtime kind of read it. He just read it super well. The Oracles, I don't even know what he saw that 100% gave it away, that he was able to build like 5 shield batteries and 5 or 6 cannons. Obviously he was paying a lot more attention than I was, but I guess those Adepts, the Adepts at the tower probably gave him enough of a heads up when he saw that many roaches coming his way. So to that end, maybe he just saw it. Yeah, it was just a really well defended setup. The creep Autobahn. That's right, where queens can run with no limit to their speed. Sorry, it's just the word queen and speed in the same sentence. Just that does it for me. All right, Showtime versus Lambo, game number 2 coming up. Bow, 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 no. Nice. Oh, I was gonna copy Wardy's observing, right? It's Lambo! Introduce the other player, Wardy. Introduce the other player. Did he already introduce the other player? Oh, crap. He might have already introduced the other player. In the top left, it's Showtime. Nate, set the scoreboard. You're a terrible streamer. Everybody already knew that, though. All right, so Showtime up 1-0. We're playing on Submarine. This map is so small, you don't even need to check a bag. You could just put it in your backpack and bring it with you basically anywhere. The map does not have any really sharp features. You have a lot of rounded edges, but nothing super sharp. So, like I said, if you put it through the X-ray machine, they're going to be like, okay, yeah, you got a small map with you. That's fine. There's nothing here that's going to hurt anybody. However, that in and of itself becomes a contradiction when you see games played on submarine, because the short rush distance, and you have a kind of, it's not really like a small choke, but there's no ramp to the natural. You can put on a lot of pressure from the outside. You can put on a lot of pressure from the outside. You can bring a lot of pressure from the top side. Both third bases, as far as options go, are low ground or far away from the natural. This cliff doesn't really matter unless you're playing Terran. So Lambo doesn't want to get his hatchery blocked by the probe. That's why he immediately builds the hatch first at the third. He doesn't want to have to deal with that. You know, I had an interesting conversation with Katz where we were chatting a little bit about the way that stuff was set up. And we were talking about, I'm like, oh yeah, you know, it's like, he's fine to do that. And then Katz is like, well, he can do that. Most Zergs can do it. Most Zergs do it. But Katz was like, young Nathaniel. And he's like, Zergs aren't fine to do it. Trust me. We wish we could just take our normal bases like good citizens of this world, but it's not always that simple. And the Cybercore is going to be finishing up with the Nexus, approaching 70% completion. And here it is. The Adept first, chrono boost on the warp gate. This is important for the Overlord to see, because for Lambo, you can have you can get somewhat of an idea of what they're doing. If he were to have built this Adept or Stalker and started warp gate a little bit later, like if that finishes and then you don't do anything with it for like 5 to 10 seconds, that means that there was probably a Stargate or something built in the main base at the same time or out on the map. Like you usually end up like kind of cutting or playing around with your gas a bit much, but since it's going to be a Stalker after, he can spend less gas on a Twilight Council. That's only 100 gas. And that definitely is going to, you know, lead to a different setup. Especially since Showtime's been favoring the Stargate play in the PvZ. I think he went Stargate almost every game against Bly in their earlier match, and that whole match just got real awkward. That was an ugly series, but a fun one. If you missed it, the VODs for that will be up at some point this week on my YouTube. YouTube/Nathanias. I've been putting up 4K VODs now. That's right. I've got 4K 60 FPS VODs. Nate, why isn't the stream 4K? Blame Twitch. If Twitch lets me, I'll make my stream 4K right now. All right? Don't with me, Twitch. Don't with me. Okay, so Adept comes back home. Nothing crazy happened. Kind of checked the third base, saw the natural was being made. At the very least, you have some idea that like Lambo's not going to be cheesing you, but that's crazy because Zerg players can kind of, that's like their ability, right? Is that at any point they could turn those 3 bases into just 3 macro hatches of grinding out tons of units to try and come kill you with. So you've got a pretty reasonable amount of things that the Zerg player is going to be able to do. Lambo's got some good vision of this wall, and Resonating Glaives is going to be the choice here for Showtime. So the map is very small, which means that even without a prism, it would still not take a tremendous amount of time to be able to get Adepts across the map. And for that reason, I think you see a little bit more Resonating Glaive play here, just because it's worst when it gets caught, or when it gets caught out on the map, when you're forced to take a long time to get there and your opponent has a lot of time to prepare. But since the bases are going to be bounce backable between each other, and you have a lot of drones on the outside bases and not the inside bases, going between that main and the third is going to be a lot more dangerous now. And maybe he wants to move drones to the natural. Who knows? Who knows how exactly he'll react to this? So far, the link count is good. The Adepts have not wanted to commit to the Shade yet for Showtime. He's going to do another warp in round. He only has 4 gateways, so it's not like he can bring some tremendous number in. But considering the timing, right? We're at the 5-minute mark now, and he's got 12 Adepts. But there's 5 Roaches, too, and I think that's really important to keep in mind. He's got 5 more finishing, and at 10 Roaches, the Adepts are not going to have a good time against. All of a sudden, the Adepts kind of look like Hellions out here, trying to clear creep tumors while avoiding the actual scary units. So Lambo seems to have reacted pretty well to this. He's even got his units ready to catch the Prism of Showtime. So he cancels the Warp of Adepts. And yeah, Lambo's just got some really good map awareness. And that's just one of the most important things that you can have. That Prism can easily win the game for the Toss player. And Showtime's like, yep, all right, time to transition. I'm going to start my 3rd Nexus up. Still has a lot of Adepts, but he's going to start to build an Immortal as well. And that's going to be really important, because if too many Roaches get out on the field, as good as Adepts can be, they just don't really hold up very well against armored units, because they do a low amount of damage against armored, and they also do not really scale against Roaches. Roaches just have way more burst damage, and they're very chunky. They're very chunky units. So that does make it a little bit difficult. So these queens actually at the front for Lambo getting picked off though. A little bit of an uncharacteristic mistake as the adepts do find some value. And now that's going to make it a little more tricky to kind of play the anti-air game. These lings for Lambo. I love that I looked here. I'm like, okay, Prism's probably coming back. Lambo immediately has lings on patrol. So he's doing a somewhat decent job now in terms of getting that defense going. Not that he wasn't doing a good job before. The spine and the spore, I think, are all perfectly fine reactions to this. And then the question becomes, what is Showtime going to do next? Well, he's got a lot of sentries. I'm looking at a parting setup from 2011 here. A second immortal just popped out. Perhaps he'll start immortal number 3. I will say it is a bit risky for Lambo to try to leave his base with the roaches. Mostly because, yeah, see, he's got them tucked in here. He still has, you know, a lot of lings in that main base. The natural, slightly more exposed, but that's what he has the roaches out front for. But what I'm really trying to say is, you know, Lambo needs to be careful because the immortals could very well, with the sentries, defend a lot of roaches. Which means if he moves out, there's so little guaranteed damage. I don't think that he wants to move out because the adepts could just backstab and kill a mineral line, maybe 2 mineral lines worth of drones, while the immortals deal with everything else. And that makes it hard. That's definitely not an easy situation to try and play in. But he's done a good job thus far keeping that prism back. Showtime hasn't really been able to get much damage done. Like 5 drones the whole game, considering that what his build was. I do wonder how much the corrosive biles are going to be able to get accomplished, though. Like, this is going to be one of those situations where Lambo can micro his way to victory. But obviously, so can Showtime. But you need to get rid of the prism and you need to get rid of the immortals. Everything else, Roach Ravager will eat alive. This army from Lambo is terrifying. He's got 111 supply. Oh wait, yeah, he's turning them into Ravagers, so they even gain supply there. He's got quite an expensive army. He's got a ton of Banelings. Now Showtime's got 2 disruptors finishing. He built a second robotics facility and that Robo Bay earlier. He has 2 disruptors. Well, one is on the map. The other one is coming in close. And he's going to continue to crank out more of them. Disruptors can be insanely good against this, but my biggest fear is holding on to the third. Like, if he gets knocked back onto 3 bases even and loses the army that's here, like, splitting your forces is not always the worst choice to make, but this disruptor needs to get a big value hit. 2 roaches. Okay. I'll take it. It's not the worst. It's not the worst. Not the best. Not the worst. Not the best. But not the worst. These disruptors need to get some big money hits. He's coming down onto that third base. The 2 disruptors up top, not able to hit pay dirt, using more force fields as the Ravagers are corrosive biling down those blockades. There's the overcharged shield battery trying to keep these forces alive. It's another big attack from Lambo onto Showtime. And so far, the Protoss player is holding strong, but those immortals are getting very exposed. Picks off a Ravager and a couple of more roaches with the disruptors. The disruptors are becoming such an integral part of this defense. I did not think we'd see them land good hits, but honestly, the handful of units each one has been able to chip off has certainly helped. And they are definitely a unit that can snowball. He's blinking forward onto those Ravagers, parting himself like the Red Sea to get onto those Ravagers and keep the Stalkers alive. And just Zerglings alone are not going to be able to deal with this. This army can actually hold its own against that. Now, this is kind of the awkward thing I was talking about. You're fighting down onto the third base. That high ground vision is very useful. Of course, the creep spread gives Lambo vision, but it makes it a lot easier for him to make this attack. He's throwing the Disruptor, Purification Novas into the Ravagers, getting big hit after big hit. Double on those Ravagers. Talk about the jackpot. GG, Showtime goes up 2-0. Did not think that would work as well as it did. Honestly, when I saw the Resonating Glaive Adepts try to make their way out, when I saw the Resonating Glaive Adepts try to make something happen, and then nothing happened at all after that, I just, you know, it's like, what do you do, right? All right, Everdream. Showtime. He's trying to speed run the grand finals here. Actually, I guess Lambo's the one that... No, I think Lambo's attack in game 2 made more sense than the one in game 1. But at the same time, it's really hard to judge. Showtime's defense has just been phenomenal. It's got a nice bowl of broccoli and vegetables here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're here. Could be the final game. This man in the bottom left needs to bring it back. And touting that he finally made it over 7,000 MMR. Finally, Nathan, that's a lifetime achievement. It's pretty awesome. In the red, he is Lambo. His opponent in the blue, defeating Hero Marine and possibly now Lambo 2. He is Showtime. How about that, though? 3 Germans in the top 4, right? We had Lambo, Showtime, Hero Marine. Germans absolutely crushing it today. And then honorable mention in the top 4 is also going to be my boy, Thermal. But he's Dutch. And as an American, as an ignorant American who's actually traveled the world and tried to understand difference between languages, Dutch and German, it's close enough. They're close enough. And that's all that matters. I went to a German event once and a friend of mine from the Netherlands came to see me. They're close enough. Some people are going to be very offended by that, but I just want you to know that I love you and it's okay. You don't have to take everything too seriously. So this time, yeah, we get that Cybercore going. We got the Nexus on the way. I'm wondering if he's going to go for that Stargate again, because I think that's the biggest thing. I'd also like to give a big shout out to Eaten by a, I'm not really sure what that means in chat, but I just want you to know that in life, it is important to not take things too seriously. And that is one of the reasons why I like to do fun, silly stuff on my personal stream that I don't normally do on live broadcasted professional events, such as wearing a tank top. I pretty much only wear tank tops on my stream. It's actually a part of my stream brand. Why, Nathan? Why tank tops? Because you want to look silly? No, because tank tops are comfortable and they allow me to buy an entire rack of clothes for $20 that I can use for streaming that I don't have to wear anywhere else, so that it will be harder for people to recognize me. It makes life easier. Also, tank tops are super comfortable. It's like, Nathan, why didn't you brand yourself to wear chainmail every day? I'm like, because that shit's hot and it's heavy. No, that's plate mail. No, chainmail's heavy too. Just because chainmail's lighter than plate mail does not. Actually, you could easily weave a more dense chainmail. I digress. It is a Stargate opening, but it's not 3 oracles. It's going to be the Phoenix first. I'm sure Rotterdam casting this is already excited because I do believe Showtime is one of the players we've been able to see throw in a handful of oh, sorry, I meant to say beef and vegetables, not broccoli and vegetables, but it's like a handful here of adapts. It's actually been a handful of games where Showtime's gone for that double Stargate Phoenix too. I feel like many people do throw that in there as well. What was that series? There was the PvZ series recently in the DreamHack one. I think when I was casting with cats the other day, we had a fun double Stargate series where we kind of saw everything in the whole best of 5. My ability to remember games, as I pointed out, is not anywhere near as good as Roddy's. So, boom, 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 boom. So with 1 Oracle and 1 Phoenix, instead of like the multi-Oracle meme, this strategy primarily revolves around lifting up 1 Queen while the Oracles kill everything else. And the idea is that the Phoenix not only lifts a Queen, but the Phoenix also soaks some damage from a Spore Crawler. What I find fascinating, though, I mean, Lambo's done it. Oh my God, Lambo! Oh, wow. Nice. Good pick off there for Lambo. Killing the Oracle that early on, that's huge. That's huge. That might have been the only detection that he was going to get in the early game, but you don't want to be building more Oracles now. So this Phoenix maybe kills an Overlord. Okay, he does keep it alive. Thank God. He does keep that alive. So, here's the interesting thing, though. He's going into Resonating Glaive Adepts again. Yeah, they're going into the Resonating Glaives again. So he's still planning on... No! It's not on the wall. It's not in the wall. Rachel! And he didn't even warp in the wall. That's terrifying to me. Lambo had a big opportunity right there. I mean, he might think that he was denying the third base, but I think that Showtime... How does he not realize what Showtime's doing at this point, though? This right here has to tell him everything. That is way too many Adepts. Now, Lambo does not have any roaches on the map. The Adepts are halfway across, but he's building 8. He's starting to build the roach count. However, it is not going to be easy for him to be able to do this. This is going to be a pretty... If Lambo holds this without dying or taking, like, catastrophic loss, this is going to be one of the sickest holds. This is so hard to stop. When there's this many Adepts, you have to constantly be bouncing between your own bases in fear of the shade. So the Adepts can teleport to wherever that shadow is at the end of the cooldown duration that you see expiring over its head. Now, there's not a lot of roaches inside of the main. This is what I'm talking about. Now, Showtime's coming inside. Still a little bit behind on that worker count, but 7 more roaches are going to be made. You can only build units or workers when you're working with the larva of Zerg. It's so hard to balance that, but now the drone count seems to be dwindling as Lambo is starting to struggle with the number of Adepts just splitting themselves up between the bases. He's not super far behind economically, but at the same time, there's a lot of pressure for him to go on a counterattack and punish this third base. Conversely, this is something that Showtime realizes. He's got a second robo again. He's going for the same follow-up of the last game. He wants to have the Resonating Glaive Adepts put in that quick 1-2 punch and say, hey, Lambo, build roaches. And then Lambo's like, aight, son, I'm gonna come across the map with a bunch of roaches and ravagers and drown you in blood and bile. But what actually happens is Showtime's like, well, I've already got 3 Immortals and 2 Disruptors on the way. Good luck. And that's exactly what happened on the last game. But I don't know if it's just to the credit of the insane tenacity of Showtime that he is so unkillable. Oh, okay. He started a Colossus and then canceled it. All right. He thought about it for a second. He's like, wait a minute. Disruptors don't need upgrades. Colossi need upgrades. I don't think I'll go for the Disruptors. I think I'll go for the Disruptors. Fun fact. Showtime purchased a lifetime license to use the Disruptor from M. Canning because Showtime does occasionally stream. How about that? How about that? That's wonderful. Also, I just got paid $30 by M. Canning to tell you that. Hashtag ad. I don't think this is enough army to move out and actually kill him, though. Do you? I guess he hasn't really added Ravagers yet, so he can't deal with the force fields. So 3 of them are going to start now. And this is actually so awkward. I mean, there's no prism here. The move out is a bit bold to bring the Disruptors all the way across the map. He really thinks that he's been able to completely mess up the economy of Lambo. Perhaps he was right. So many sentries to drop these force fields, and if those Disruptors can even just take out a couple of roaches, the damage is devastating. He's going to try to recall the forces. A couple sentries will get left behind, but everything else will take the Bifrost back home. I was going to say, you know, I can't actually say that they took the Bifrost back to blank because, spoiler alert, it doesn't exist anymore. Oh, that's what the prism says whenever biles are coming down around it. Yeah. Considering that he lost the first Oracle the way that he did, is still kind of impressive by Showtime. I definitely think Lambo could have lost this base here. Now you see the 16, right? He's got a bunch of drones coming. So even though it looked like it was, you know, oh, okay, whatever. It's just a fresh base. He can take another one. He's definitely got to be careful because this hatchery, it's not about this hatchery anymore. If that hatchery dies, there's a lot of drones there. He's going to come in, throw the biles out into the center mass. Unfortunately, only able to tag one of the stalkers, but it does get the prism, though. A beautiful bile on that. At the very least, another Disruptor is going to come out from off creep. This is why that creep spread is so important. Giving you that speed boost to run away from the Disruptor shots is so crucial to the defense here. And I think he might just try to click on this base. Gets 3 of the Ravagers with that Disruptor shot. And oh my goodness. Okay, so Lambo's going to take the drones away. I think that's a very smart decision on his part, given the way that this has gone down. It's nice to have that purple gas, but unfortunately, It's very hard to hold on to it. It's a big target. That base is designed to be vulnerable. Now, the Disruptor kind of soft blows up on itself. Disruptors actually can't kill themselves or even each other when they're friendly. They can kill your other stuff. But Lambo's getting a pretty good position here. Unfortunately, I think might be bleeding out a little much to the Roach Ravager, or excuse me, to the Disruptors. It's 3 more there. 3 roaches for a Disruptor. Like, value-wise, the roaches are way cheaper. But at the same time, it's that overwhelming number that's being chipped away at. And it suddenly becomes a regular whelming number instead of overwhelming. Not to be confused with underwhelming. And Lambo does still have that patch in the northwest. This is what I was saying. Like, you just want to make he did a really good job of staying on top of when that base was going to be time to evacuate. And he was able to at least maintain that income. So it's not that Lambo's out of money. He's had a pretty rough time moving forward in his tech. In this whole best of 5, we've pretty much just seen Lings, Roaches, and Ravagers with a handful of Banelings intermingled. But at the same time, ooh, we do have a counterattack on the right side by this base. So a nice bit of damage getting done by these Lings. At the very least, going to kill, it looked like a Stalker or 2 while they were warping in. But can't actually get any of the probes. I don't know that he killed any probes at this base. Maybe 1? I didn't even get a pop-up. That's a... How does Showtime not take damage from anything? What the hell is... Literally no attack has worked against Showtime that I've seen today. Outside of the 2-base Marine tank push that Hero Marine did against him where he pulled his SCVs. He's got a lot of Banelings, though. He's ready to rock and roll. Look at this. The Prism is on patrol for vision? What? Okay, well, we've got 6 Disruptors here. That's going to be so hard to engage. So... We talk about that tech, by the way. Vipers are coming out. We're going to have Vipers. He's going to try and abduct those units. He's going to try and get a big Baneling bust over here. Coming in, crashing towards that mineral line. He doesn't have the +2 to insta-kill all the probes, though. He still gets 6 at the same time and forces the recall. Banelings crash towards the 4th. Unfortunately, not able to land anything either. A few of the Disruptors get grabbed by the Zerglings, but they do get saved by their constituents. So yeah, he's going to send the Lings to that base and then what? Try to bully with the Roach Ravager on the north? Okay, I like this. He's like, all right, well, I'll just give it a poke and then regroup everything back on the northwest side. I mean, once he gets resonating, or excuse me, adrenal glands and a couple of Vipers will go a long way against an army that isn't really Storm focused. He has some High Templar, but he doesn't have Storm and he's not researching Storm. So... I guess now he's just scared about feedback. I don't know if he somehow saw... Oh, no, he's just making Archons. Okay. So, because he's just making Archons, Abduct is going to be good. Blinding Cloud could be good. I think the biggest thing that you would want to do in this scenario, if you're Lambo, is bring those... Oh, my God. Like, he's already dealing with this, too. We got the Prism with a bunch of charge lots, but Lambo, he's not an F2A mover, ladies and gentlemen. He's got units in more than one base. Jesus. But yeah, if you can get the Abducts, since there's no feedback, get the Abduct off on the Disruptor. Okay, well, I cannot believe he didn't just lose everything right there. Oh, Abducts the Disruptors. He's able to cancel the Disruptor's Purification Nova with the Abducts. That's exactly what I was talking about, bringing those Vipers into the fray. And he manages to kill all of the tech power units. Now, the Stalkers blink forward and kill both of the Vipers. On their own, the Ravagers cannot fight this army. However, he did just take out all of the good units in that army. I'm not going to tell you that Archons aren't good, but at the same time, I'm going to say, you know what I mean. All right. You know, if you know, you know. And if you don't know, now you know. But at the same time, Showtime's still getting more bases. I just want to point that out. Like, his worker count is fantastic. The Protoss has 81 workers to 66 of the Zerg. And that really should just tell you everything you need to know right there. He's going to absolutely need to get some work done as... This next base that's under attack. Like, will Showtime be able to hold on again? He's been unstoppable. I really like that the Zerglings are focusing on the north side. Lambo with a fantastic engagement to get the Zerglings on the Stalkers. Let the Roaches and Ravagers hit those Archons. And now Showtime is being beaten back, bloody and bruised on that 5th base. And this is a huge opportunity now to try and cascade this one to roll over into another base knockdown. GG Lambo draws blood. And I think I was supposed to make a joke about the movie Lambo First Blood, but I didn't think of it until after I finished saying the sentence that I literally just said. Now you guys can watch me eat some more of my food while we wait for the invite to the next game. Also, in defense of the tank tops, I got variety. This one's got a button. This one's got a pocket. There's a pocket in this one. All right? I'm not just wearing dirty old white and black tank tops that have nothing on them. You're covered in stains. We got variety. We got class. Also, just for that guy as well, I'm not trying to make you feel bad or anything. I'm just going to also say it is currently 106 degrees outside in Las Vegas. So, even if I wasn't streaming, I would probably still wear something like that. Banelings are pretty good. I mean, some of your units have to be pretty good, right? Whenever somebody says that, in my mind, I'm always like, yeah, well, yeah, Banelings are pretty good. I'm like, you know, every race has units that are pretty good. Otherwise, there would be literally no point to playing the game. Yeah, that game was sick by Lambo. He did so well. All right. Could be the last game, unless this man has something to say about it again. In the top right, he's the Red Zerg player. He is Lambo. I think that's Sadkek next to his name because his clan is no team. Definitely hope that some big team can pick up Lambo at some point in the future. He's been playing absolutely fantastic. And in the bottom left, we have the blue Protoss player. He is Showtime, and he is also awesome. What does one keep in the chest pocket of a tank top? I'm going to be honest with you. I have literally never put anything in my chest pocket of my tank top. Ever. Not even as a joke. It's quite useless. I don't know why it exists. So, hatchery taken on that third base position for Lambo at the start. Showtime going for the extremely natural into cybernetics core, which is fantastic. Welcome to the neighborhood. Thank you, Koakuma. Thank you. And thank you guys for hanging out. I do really appreciate you chilling. I also just want to say big thanks. I guess Roddy sent some folks over here, so I appreciate that. What am I eating? It's a spicy beef broccoli bowl, basically. Except it has a lot more than just that. I think there's like... I think what's in here is couscous and carrots. And we got a little bit of spinach, it looks like. Good stuff. Good stuff for, yeah. Somebody who's got a long way to go diet-wise. And this map, when I think about it, I think about this third base, which feels a bit open. It's on the low ground. There's a decent amount of angles to kind of come at from here. Always having this, you know, the low ground natural, if your opponent has stuff waiting here, is always scary, or even here. So there's a lot of different ways that you can bring the pressure on this map and be aggressive. And I do find any player that wants to play slow or not really prioritize protecting the third base, things can fall apart really fast. He pylon blocks the natural too. He really wants to just get under Lambo's skin. Frustrating, to say the least. But yeah, just big shout out to everybody hanging out. Roddy for giving me a shout out because he's awesome. Rotterdam is just absolutely fantastic human being. And for anybody who's been coming by again around here lately, I do appreciate y'all. I've made a lot of advancements in my personal life that have made me a much happier person and much less salty when I play, even when I play StarCraft now. So I made some big changes. I changed my perspective on things, and life's been a lot better. It's also kind of hard to get upset playing StarCraft with general depression now. Keepo. Resonating Glaives again from Showtime. You dirty, dirty boy. He wants to bring the pain again. He's gonna bring the pain train. I guess it's kind of worked, right? I mean, he's forced Lambo into staying low tech. I feel like that's the biggest impact that it has. Am I crazy? Am I crazy for thinking that? The biggest impact that these builds have... Wait, is Wardy not in this lobby? Where is he? There we go. I'll follow Wardy. He's a fantastic observer. But I feel like the biggest thing is that when you go for that many adepts, like you need so many roaches to defend against those adepts that you don't really ever get the opportunity, as we see the roach horn here, you don't get the opportunity to go for much higher tech, which makes it really hard. Because I don't assume that Lambo wants to sit on a bunch of roaches every game. And maybe he does. I could be completely wrong. But when you go for this many adepts, if you try to be greedy, you're almost guaranteed to die. That's the biggest strength of this build. This build absolutely just obliterates people who are greedy. And he still gets a follow-up with it. But if you are like, oh, I'm going to defend with just Zerglings, and then all of a sudden the adepts all shade onto a ramp, and then your lings can't even surround 2 of them completely, you just kind of die. So that's why you have to build the roaches. You got to get at least like 7 or 8 of them, honestly, to hold off these Resonating Glaive adept attacks. And that, like I said, right now, like how is he going to be able to afford to get a lair when he's got to defend against this, right? Like, this is just tough. So the adepts are going to start to shade over towards that third base while they push on to the natural. The drones immediately move, and he cancels that shade because he's like, well, I don't see roaches here, so I'm going to do as much damage as I can, and then I'll shade away after. And actually, if he can kill a roach or 2, like this many roaches, like I said, you need to have a good amount of them, but you also need them together. This many adepts on their own can really dole out a lot of damage against individual roaches or queens. And as you can see, it's not like they can't kill the roaches. They just don't trade well versus them once they get closer to even numbers. And that's when the adepts shade out. You keep yourself in a good position. You're safe, you're sound, you're secure. And now Lambo starts to get more drones. Now Lambo starts to get that Evo chamber. But he still has to be careful, because at any point, if these adepts finish their shade, he could get so much work done. He's going to go for the queen. Now, one thing that's important to keep in mind here is Showtime is committing very heavily, going for something like the queen. A big reason why you see a lot of Protoss players do that, even in these dicey situations, you're opening the door for the prism. It's got 4 sentries in it. Oh my God, it's got 4 sentries in it. But why did he bait everything to the main? Is he going to force field him into the natural? Oh my God. Well, his army is actually split pretty well. Lambo is not going to get caught off guard by this. He is going to be kind of pinched off of his third, but I actually don't think that this is going in the way that Showtime was hoping. Lambo still got a good drone count. Those force fields were not bad. I think 1 roach might get squished through there. But that's actually still a pretty good job of defending against that. So that's nice. Nice. So we have the third Nexus finishing up for Showtime behind this. More roaches and lings coming out for Lambo. And this is what I've been talking about, though. This is what I've been talking about. One of the hardest parts about this is, like, it's just difficult for Lambo to get his tech up. Now, Showtime's still trying to commit to this. He missed his opportunity there to go for the force field, unfortunately. I do think he could have actually gotten a lot done there. If he warps in 1 sentry once he's there, I think that's the math on it, right? 5 sentries can permanently hold a ramp in force fields. I believe that's how it worked in Wings of Liberty. But this is what I was talking about, though. You're kept on a lot of basic units, and now there's quite a few immortals that are going to be fantastic against the roaches. But Lambo's going to go for another big attack. Now, this time, the shield batteries are not all completely ready, but that prism, we talk about the prism, as long as he can keep the immortals alive, juking, jiving, juggling, and smuggling all those forces through the roaches, Showtime can still take this. He still has 4 Immortals alive. These Roaches and Ravagers are being ripped to pieces. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know that Lambo's going to be able to make this push continue to work with 4 Immortals. As long as Showtime can keep these bad boys alive, they will kill everything. And I mean everything, ladies and gentlemen. I mean freaking everything. The lair is only just now starting for the German Zerg player. As the German Toss player says. I don't know. Does Showtime have a catchphrase? I'm sorry. I kind of served that up without knowing where I was going. I wanted to say D-Mauer, but I don't think Showtime actually says D-Mauer, right? Like, that would be like All Might saying All Might, right? Instead of having a catchphrase, which he has. So, I'm just going to apologize for that one. I'm sure Showtime will never watch my cast of his game, so it's okay. +1 melee, Baneling Nest. The real scariest part about all of this isn't that he lost that army. It's that there's now 5 going on 6 Immortals that are probably about to attack him. And that also makes me very nervous because you used to be like, oh, Banelings kill everything, but he doesn't have the Baneling Nest. It's only just now finishing. And even though, yes, he now has it, or he's about to have it, the real problem is Baneling speed, which is just absolutely necessary on the defensive side for Zerg players. It's one of the reasons why Banelings are so popular. So making a big hold here would be quite tricky whenever Showtime decides that he wants to move out. If there's one thing I really like here for Lambo, though, it's that there's no disruptors, right? The Robo Bay's only just started. There's only one Robo. He has to start another one if he wants to go for the full meme, right? Which means that that big splash potential is not with this army. But at the same time, there's 6 Immortals. There's 6 friggin'... Okay, there's 5 Immortals. Oh, 6 little Banelings went to the store. Wanted to get probes, got 4 or more. See, you can use StarCraft to teach your kids stuff. Now we've got the 2 Immortals going to be dropped into the main base. This is just a really good way to use this type of army. The Immortals are always going to be strong here, and they're tanky enough that they can deal with the Queens too. And if you kill this Queen, you have to keep in mind, because of how low tech it is, there's no Hydralisks. There's no Hydralisks. There's no Mutalisks. There's no Corruptors. You really don't have much in the way of dealing with either the Warp Prism or anything else. He says, Auf Wiedersehen. Isn't that... Actually, I actually don't know what that means. I think that just means goodbye, right? That's what they say on the planes. I don't know. Oh! Danger close.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. Welcome to Immortal Airlines, operated by Showtime Incorporated. We'll be passing over the wall in just a moment. Brace yourself for Zerg interactions. This is your captain speaking. Have a safe flight.
There you have it. These Immortals got a first-class ticket to the top left base. There are plenty of Roaches and Zerglings and Ravagers to deal with them, though. The 2 Immortals on their own can be strong, but they're not going to roll through everything. I do find it curious. There's been quite a few Blink Stalkers added into this army, and I wonder if Showtime is thinking about... like mutas or something to have that many Stalkers that early, or if he just really likes having the more microable units. Because like Banelings weren't a big factor early on in this game. Although I do understand that as the game progresses, obviously, you don't want to just spam Zealots at your opponent when they have Banes. But he's going for Colossi, and this I find fascinating. Does he have range? Yes, he does have the range upgrade. And he has 3 Colossi with his army, which may be an adjustment that Lambo was not prepared for. And in fact, I think there's a big opportunity for some game-ending damage from Showtime if Lambo walks into 3 Colossi going on 4. Up a tight choke point with force fields in play. Yeah, he sees those Colossi. He's like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to back it up, back it up, huh? And now the Immortals are going to be able to also anchor those Colossi very nicely. So the Colossi will kill the Lings and possibly the Banelings in good effect. They're not terrible against those types. I think it takes 2 volleys from the Colossi to be able to deal with them. And he's going to send some Zealots to the northwest. I don't think Lambo saw. He's kind of looking, but no. And now he's pulling back over towards the center as the Zealots arrive at the base. And that's going to turn into a nice little bit of damage here for Showtime, just because Lambo, he was already trying to catch that little army and he wasn't able to get his hands on it. Now, this could be an awkward position for Showtime, though, as he's kind of being caught backing up a wall of force fields. D-Mauer truly is going up to try and extend the amount of time it takes for Lambo to push, but he doesn't have that same range. Wow, that blink forward was so aggressive. GG is called out. Lambo can't engage the army, and Showtime takes the series 3-1.